Okay, so then you give birth. Was Dwight there during the birth?
No. He
Okay.
knew I was in the hospital. I texted him, called him. My parents called his parents. And he was playing in a game, actually, like that day. And he didn't come that night. The next day, nothing. But we sent his parents a picture. And from then, they were like, oh, that's our grandson. He looks just like him. And then they sent a picture back of Dwight when he was born. And it was like they were twins.
Okay, this is wild, because when he showed up on my game, I was so mad. We often talk about how skilled and successful NBA players are, but what if I told you that most of them shockingly fail at parenting their many children? From legends like Larry Bird to controversial figures like Dwight Howard and Dennis Rodman, we're diving deep into 11 NBA players whose off-court failures as fathers tell a completely different story than their highlight reels. First up, Larry Johnson. His story is one of the most extensively documented cases of NBA fatherhood gone wrong. This charismatic Charlotte Hornets star who captivated fans with those famous grandmama commercials was actually living a very different life behind closed doors, one that eventually caught up with him in the most public and painful ways imaginable. By the late 1990s, Johnson had fathered 5 children with 4 different women, including 2 with his wife Celeste, but it was the relationships outside his marriage that created a web of legal battles and allegations that would haunt him for years. And get this, Angela Jeffress, a Baltimore-based former flight attendant, gave birth to Johnson's daughter, Gabrielle Tyler, on October 4th, 1993, the very same day Johnson signed his record-breaking 12-year, $84 million contract extension with the Hornets. Despite this timing, Jeffress and her daughter struggled on welfare for 9 months before a court finally mandated $4,000 monthly in child support in August 1995. But money wasn't even the real issue. It was Johnson's virtual absence from his daughter's life. By early 1997, when Gabrielle was just over 3 years old, she had met her father only 3 times. One visit at Johnson's Dallas home in June 1996 was reportedly warm, but a January 1997 encounter at a Knicks game lasted barely 15 minutes, with Johnson seemingly more engaged with his entourage than his own child. Laura Tate's story, meanwhile, was even more disturbing. This Los Angeles aspiring model claimed that when she became pregnant in 1996, Johnson begged her to have an abortion. According to Tate, she endured harassing phone calls from Johnson's friend, Portland Trail Blazers guard Stacey Ogmund, forcing her to record conversations and flee multiple times for her safety. After their daughter, Taylor Tate, was born on August 5th, 1997, a blood test confirmed Johnson's paternity with 99.9%. A Los Angeles Superior Court then ordered him to pay $8,850 in child support, plus $30,000 annually for a nanny, one of the highest athlete support awards of that era. The financial obligations only mounted as Johnson's NBA career wound down, and by 2015 he filed for bankruptcy, listing over $120,000 in unpaid child support. TMZ even reported that 4 women were accusing him of being a deadbeat dad, with debts totaling nearly $900,000 primarily to Tate. The case made headlines nationwide, with media outlets dubbing Johnson an alleged deadbeat, despite his career earnings exceeding $80 million. However, the story took an interesting turn when Johnson's first child's mother publicly defended him, contacting TMZ to state he was not a deadbeat dad and didn't owe her anything. This counter-narrative suggested that Johnson's relationships with his children varied significantly, responsible with some, totally negligent with others. Johnson eventually resolved the $900,000 debt with Tate through an unconventional settlement. He transferred his $800,000 Las Vegas home and $55,000 in cash to her, effectively wiping the slate clean and dismissing his bankruptcy proceeding. By 2021, remaining back support issues were settled, finally closing this painful chapter. Now let's talk Chris Bosh. His situation differs from many on this list because the allegations of abandonment appeared to stem more from legal disputes over custody and support amounts, rather than proven cases of complete disengagement. Nevertheless, the battles he fought with his ex-girlfriend, Allison Mathis, over their daughter Trinity, paint a picture of a complex and contentious relationship that left a child caught right in the middle. The Hall of Fame power forward's troubles began in 2009 when Mathis filed a child support complaint in Maryland. plan, alleging that Bosch, despite earning over $1 million per month, had ceased financial support following their breakup. She claimed he abandoned her during a complicated pregnancy and even attempted to evict her from their jointly owned home in Texas. Mathis sought sole custody and substantial support payments, painting Bosch as an absent father more concerned with his basketball career than his daughter. Bosch, however, refuted these claims, asserting he had been providing voluntary monthly payments of $1,500, which court documents confirmed were cashed. His legal team successfully argued that jurisdiction belonged in Texas, not Maryland, and the Maryland court dismissed the case in April. A Texas judge subsequently ordered Bosch to pay $2,600 monthly in child support, far below what Mathis had requested. The battles intensified as Bosch's career flourished. When he joined the Miami Heat in 2010, Mathis argued his move to Florida should trigger higher support payments under that state's laws, potentially up to $30,000 per month. She cited his ownership of a Miami Beach home and removal from Texas voter rolls as evident. Bosch countered by affirming his Texas residency through income tax filings, and highlighted additional voluntary contributions, including a $250,000 lump sum in 2010, full coverage of medical and dental insurance, preschool tuition, extracurricular activity in the college fund, none of which were court-mandated. In December 2012, a Texas court ruled in Bosch's favor, deeming no increase necessary for the child's welfare. Parallel to support issues, custody access became a major flashpoint. In 2011, Bosch sued to prevent Mathis's appearance on the reality show, Basketball Wives, arguing it could harm Trinity's privacy and well-being. Though the case was dismissed, Mathis claimed the legal pressure led to her being dropped from the show. By 2012, Bosch filed for primary custody, accusing Mathis of alienating Trinity by blocking contact and refusing joint travel. Court documents from a 2012 Orlando hearing revealed Bosch was entitled to 12 days per month with Trinity, but Mathis allegedly restricted this to just 22 hours in February of that year. After 4 years of litigation, Bosch and Mathis settled via court-ordered mediation in September. The agreement included a parenting plan, with details kept sealed, but reports suggested joint custody continued with no public changes to support amounts. Tensions resurfaced in 2018, when Mathis accused Bosch of violating the agreement by relocating from Miami to Los Angeles, extending Trinity's travel time and impacting her school schedule. She sought over $67,000 in attorney fees. Bosch responded by alleging Mathis and her lawyer falsified billing statements over 7 years, urging the court to sanction them for fraud. Bosch has publicly emphasized his commitment to fatherhood in interviews and maintains an active family life with his wife Adrienne Williams and their 4 children together. Speaking of complex situations, let's talk about Royce White. His journey from NBA prospect to political candidate has been overshadowed by repeated court actions for failing to meet child support obligations. This former first-round pick, who played briefly for the Houston Rockets and Sacramento Kings, has faced at least 6 instances of falling behind on payments between 2020 and 2023, with arrears exceeding $100,000 in one case. What's particularly complex about White's story is how it intertwines with his well-documented struggles with mental health. He gained attention during his brief NBA career for advocating for better mental health policies in sports, publicly discussing his generalized anxiety disorder. However, these same mental health challenges, combined with the financial realities of a career cut short, have definitely contributed to his difficulties meeting court-ordered obligations to his children. The issues began when White was court-ordered to pay child support based on his projected NBA salary as a 21-year-old rookie, with automatic garnishments from his paychecks amounting to around $5,000 monthly. However, conflicts arose due to his fear of flying and demands for mental health accommodations, leading to his release by the Rockets without playing a single game. When his NBA paycheck ceased, White admits he failed to promptly inform the court, a blind spot he attributes to inexperience with the legal system. This oversight allowed arrears to accumulate based on that original NBA-level order. Court records from Minnesota reveal a pattern of missed payments, contempt findings, and remedial orders. In 2018, he was found in contempt in Ramsey County after failing to keep up with payments, with his monthly obligation increased from $350 to $794 due to a Big 3 basketball contract. Between 2020 and 2022, he fell behind 3 times in Ramsey County alone, ordered to pay over $117,000 total in lump sums to avoid jail. In Cottonwood County, he faced similar issues in 2020 and 2023, with courts placing him in contempt and requiring requiring structured payment plans. As of 2024, White owed $100,086.82 to one mother, according to public records, with sporadic payments continuing through the year. He faces up to 180 days in jail for non-compliance, though he has avoided incarceration by making required payments before hearing. The interest on arrears has compounded the debt, which White says equals his monthly payments even when current. White has defended himself extensively, arguing the system is punitive and degrading in a 2022 Substack open letter. He highlights paying over $20,000 in an 8-month period from Big 3 in MMA earnings, criticizes Minnesota law for barring arrears modification, even with evidence of flawed income assumptions, and accuses courts of harassment. In social media posts, he claims media reports omit his recent overpayments to smear him politically during his 2024 Senate campaign. Critics, including one child's mother, dispute White's claims of being current, noting arrears must be cleared or consistent payments made for 12 months to be considered compliant. She provided records showing debts over $100,000 and minimal involvement, stating, "Thank God I don't rely on his support or it would be impossible." Next, the story of Jimmy Walker and his son, Jalen Rose, is one of the most poignant examples of generational abandonment in NBA history. Walker, the #1 overall pick in the 1967 NBA draft who enjoyed a successful 9-season career, reportedly fathered up to 13 children with 11 different women, often without marrying the mothers or providing significant support. Jalen Rose was born on January 3, 1973, to Jane Rose, whom Walker left while she was pregnant. Walker, married to another woman at the time, reportedly responded immaturely when learning of the pregnancy in 1972, citing pressures from his then-wife. This led to a complete severance of contact. Walker vanished from their lives, never meeting his son or providing support. In what courts would later mandate, Rose grew up without knowing his father's identity until middle school. Around age 12, when a coach showed him a film featuring Walker's basketball highlights. As a child, Rose carried Walker's basketball card to school, using it to gain respect on the playground, but faced teasing that led him to stop discussing his father. In high school, he chose jersey number 42, deliberately the reverse of Walker's 24, as a subtle act of defiance. Rose's drive to excel in basketball was partly fueled by a desire to make his absent father aware of him, vowing as a youth to ensure Walker would know my name. This motivation propelled Rose to stardom with the University of Michigan's Fab Five, where he helped lead the team to 2 NCAA Final Four appearances in 1992 and 1993. During Rose's college years, Walker became aware of his son's talent through media coverage and expressed interest in connecting. In 1992, ahead of the NCAA tournament, Walker sent a letter via journalist Mitch Albom expressing pride. Rose kept the letter unopened for 7 years, carrying it as a constant reminder until 2000, when he felt emotionally ready. Upon reading it, Rose contacted Walker by phone, leading to infrequent conversations. They planned an in-person meeting for July 2007, but Walker tragically died of lung cancer on July 2, 2007, at age 63, before they could ever meet. Rose attended the funeral, a modest gathering of about 30 people, describing it as a chilling experience that prompted deep reflection on his own life. In interviews, Walker had admitted regret, stating he didn't handle the situation well with Jane, and expressing a desire to connect with Jalen without ulterior motives. Interestingly, Walker had his own absent father who died in a fire when Walker was young, leaving him with a minimal emotional response. Just a person just died. Now, shifting gears to Dwight Howard. His family life has been marked by repeated claims from ex-partners of emotional neglect or inconsistent involvement with his 5 children from 5 different relationships. This 8-time NBA All-Star and 2020 champion has denied being a deadbeat dad, emphasizing his financial and occasional personal support, but the allegations definitely paint a picture of selective engagement. Royce Reed, the mother of Howard's oldest son, Braylon, has been particularly vocal, publicly calling him evil and neglectful. She has even linked her own 2022 child neglect charge, stemming from an incident where Braylon allegedly behaved inappropriately with a younger child under her supervision, to incidents that occurred during Howard's watch, claiming he paid for smear campaigns against mothers. Reed surrendered to authorities but maintained her innocence. Meanwhile, Tiffany Render, mother of Howard's daughter Layla, broke the silence in 2023, stating Howard was never a great father, saw their daughter only when convenient due to his NBA schedule and used legal maneuvers to reduce child support from $12,000 to $3,000 monthly while obstructing her access. She described being blindsided by lawsuits and subpoenas demanding her financial records, which she viewed as pure harassment. A notable 2014 incident involved child abuse allegations when Reed accused Howard of bruising Braylon with a belt. Howard admitted to the discipline, citing his own upbringing, but investigations by Florida's Department of Children and Families and Georgia's Cobb County Police closed without charges, deeming claims unsubstantiated. Howard has consistently denied being a deadbeat, asserting in interviews that he's always been a great father with room for improvement. In a 2020 radio appearance, he noted one son living with him full-time and another staying for months preseason. He has also expressed regret about his approach to fatherhood, stating in 2024, "I didn't have the right understanding of how to be a father." But wait, it gets even more extreme with Jason Caffey's story, perhaps the most shocking on this list. This former Chicago Bulls champion, who won 2 titles alongside Michael Jordan, fathered 10 children with 8 different women, leading to overwhelming child support obligations that contributed to him losing virtually all of his $34 million in career earnings. By 2007, Caffey faced child support arrears exceeding $300,000 across multiple states, rooted in high court orders based on his peak NBA earnings, but utterly unsustainable post-retirement. Court records showed obligations to at least 6 women, with children ranging in age from toddlers to teenagers during the height of his legal troubles. Early reports highlighted inconsistent emotional involvement, including a 10-year absence from his oldest son, with mothers accusing him of evasion and non-payment. A counselor's report from Emerge dated January 27, 1998, noted that Caffey justified not calling his children due to the ongoing support dispute and having too many other things going on. An earlier report from August 1997 described him as an extremely immature person with a history of many short-lived but overlapping relationships with women. Caffey filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in August 2007 in Alabama to consolidate debts, primarily child support from his NBA-era high income, but a judge rejected it in October 2008, exposing him to lawsuit. He was jailed briefly in 2008, but avoided full discharge to protect assets like a trust he had established for some children. An Atlanta judge issued an arrest warrant in January 2009 for over $200,000 owed to one mother. By 2019, Caffey's narrative had shifted toward redemption. Therapy revealed his drive for children as a misguided quest for love, absent in his upbringing marked by parental fights. Now 52, he reports decent relationships with all 10 kids, crediting their mothers for their success despite past battle. He even co-authored a book titled Richard and the Boys, The Puberty Experience, targeting young boys on puberty, consent, and consequences. Through speaking engagements, he tells at-risk youth, "Don't be like me. Surround yourself with positive role models." Now for Karl Malone, whose case involves one of the most disturbing allegations on this list, impregnating a 13-year-old girl when he was 20 years old. While he was never criminally charged, the girl's family chose not to pursue charges, citing concerns about jeopardizing Malone's future prospects. The moral implications have haunted his legacy. The child born from that relationship, Demetress Bell, was raised by his mother Gloria Bell and her parents, with minimal involvement from Malone. Gloria's parents sued Malone in 1986 during his second NBA season, and a paternity test confirmed his fatherhood. A Louisiana judge ordered $125 per week plus medical expenses, minimal compared to Malone's growing salary, which would exceed $100 million over his career. A confidential settlement followed in 1988. Demetress grew up describing the relationship as if his mother went to the sperm bank, emphasizing self-reliance. When they finally met, when Demetress was 17, Malone reportedly said it was too late to be a father. Despite this painful history, Demetress Bell went on to become an NFL offensive lineman, playing for teams like the Buffalo Bills from 2008 to 2013. But here's the kicker. Malone also had fraternal twins, Daryl and Cheryl Ford, born on June 6, 1981, to his high school girlfriend, Benita Ford. Both Malone and Benita were approximately 17 at the time of conception. Malone left for college basketball at Louisiana Tech shortly after their birth, pursuing his athletic career, while Benita raised the twins with support from her family. He initially denied paternity and provided no financial or emotional support for years. A lawsuit around 1988 or 1989 led to an out-of-court settlement confirming Malone's paternity, but meaningful involvement didn't begin until 1998 when the twins were. Cheryl, who became a three-time WNBA champion with the Detroit Shock, has spoken about the emotional toll, saying, "I forgive, but I'm not going to forget that. That hurts your child." Reconciliation efforts for the twins began in the late 90s. Malone initiated contact around 1998, visiting them and gradually building bonds. Malone attended Cheryl's college games at Louisiana Tech, provided financial help, and communicated regularly. With Demetress, reconciliation was slower, but by the 2010s, they developed a relationship. In 2023, they even appeared together at a statue, unveiling for Malone at Louisiana Tech alongside his other children, signaling family unity. Malone has publicly addressed his past, admitting mistakes in interviews, and a 2001 cable special, emphasizing growth and responsibility. Let's dive into Greg Miner's story, which truly represents the broader pattern of NBA players in the 1990s having children out of wedlock with multiple women and struggling to maintain involvement. This former Boston Celtics reserve spent 6 years with his girlfriend, Celestine Rowan, during college and his early NBA career, fathering at least 3 children, Kira, Greg Jr., and Khalid. Their breakup in the mid-1990s led to significant dispute. In June 1996, Miner was charged with 4th-degree assault for hitting Rowan in the temple, agreeing to enter a batterer's counseling program to avoid trial. Court records show Miner ceased contact with his children after their breakup, not visiting them since February 1997 and calling only once on Greg Jr.'s 3rd birthday. A counselor's report from January 27, 1998 noted Miner justified not calling his children due to the ongoing support dispute and having too many other things going on. An earlier report from August 1997 described him as an extremely immature person with a history of many short-lived but overlapping relationships with women. Financial issues only compounded the emotional abandonment. Initially ordered to pay $2,000 monthly in 1995, the amount surged to $30,000 per month in February 1997 following Miner's 5-year, a $12.5 million contract with the Celtics. Miner appealed this increase and demanded genetic testing to confirm paternity, despite being present at 2 of the births and previously acknowledging the children publicly. DNA tests affirmed his fatherhood, and the court eventually reduced payments to $760 monthly in November 1997, with over half allocated to a trust fund. But here's where it gets heartbreaking. A particularly painful incident involved housing. In 1997, Miner agreed to purchase a 4-bedroom home for Rowan and the children, with her making $900 monthly mortgage payments from support funds. He then reneged on finalizing the deal, forcing an eviction. The family relocated to Rowan's mother's cramped 2-bedroom home in a dangerous neighborhood, a setting Miner himself had vowed to avoid given his own upbringing. Miner was featured prominently in Sports Illustrated's landmark 1998 article, "Where's Daddy?" with his son Khalid on the cover, symbolizing the broader issue of absentee fathers among professional athletes. The article estimated 1 out-of-wedlock child per NBA player on average. In later years, Miner's narrative shifted. By 2018, living in California and engaged in private coaching, he reflected on fatherhood as a humbling ongoing learning process, emphasizing presence and growth. What's even more insane is Shawn Kemp. His legacy includes being one of the most dominant power forwards of the 1990s and having at least 7 children with 6 different women. While rumors have suggested up to 11 children with 9 or 10 women, confirmed details point to the lower figure, with Kemp consistently paying child support despite significant financial strain. The 1998 Sports Illustrated expose on athlete paternity featured Kemp prominently, noting that child support obligations were contributing to his professional struggles. In April 1998, he missed 5 practices, and his performance dropped dramatically from 21.3 points per game pre-All-Star break to just 15.1 after. A Sonic source told the Seattle Times that Kemp's issues were the cost of being a father to a bunch of kids, not neglect. One mother, Charlotte Osuna, described Kemp as an exceptional dad who paid support and visited their daughter Dominique regularly. However, she also noted access disputes, claiming some mothers told Kemp, "Marry me or you don't see your kid." This suggests Kemp faced barriers to involvement in some cases, complicating the narrative of abandonment. By 2015, child support calculations for Kemp reportedly exceeded $100,000 monthly in aggregate, leading to significant wealth erosion. His career earnings of approximately $91 million in salary and $11 million in endorsements have been reduced to a current net worth of around $5 million, attributed to support payments, lifestyle expenses, and past addictions requiring rehab. Kemp married Marvina Thomas in 2001, and they have 3 children together, including sons Sean Jr. and Jamone, who pursued basketball careers. After splitting from Thomas, he married 4 more times, lastly to Nikki Javost. His adult sons have played college basketball, suggesting ongoing family connections. As of 2023, Kemp's family life appears private and stable. In August 2023, he was sentenced to 30 days of electronic home monitoring following a guilty plea in a shooting incident where he addressed the court about protecting kids, indicating ongoing family concerns. Now, even legends aren't immune to family failures. Larry Bird, one of basketball's greatest players, has been candid about his strained relationship with his biological daughter, Corey, born to his first wife, Janet Condra, in 1977, shortly after their divorce. Bird initially denied being Corey's father, rejecting Condra's request for $40 weekly support and prompting a paternity suit. Test confirmed his fatherhood, and he was ordered to pay child support, which he fulfilled by setting up a bank account for Corey accessible at age 18. However, financial provision was the extent of his involvement for much of her childhood. Corey grew up sending letters, school report cards, and photos via certified mail, often with absolutely no response. In 1993, when she was 15, she expressed disappointment over not being invited to Bird's retirement ceremony. Bird addressed this in his autobiography, admitting limited involvement due to differences with Janet. He wrote, "I can't honestly say I've had that much to do with her life because of my differences with Janet. I think about Corey all the time, but what can I really do now? I can't go back and relive the first 5 or 6 years of her life." Corey appeared on Oprah in 1998, sharing her pain without bitterness. Bird's second wife, Dinah, facilitated a meeting at an Indiana Pacers game that year, leading to a rare hug and conversation. Corey recalled, "He seemed interested in what I had to say. He walked me to my car and he hugged me. I hope I can see more of him now." By the 2000s, Bird attended some of Corey's events, high school basketball games, college graduation, and her 2008 wedding to Trent Batson. She earned an MBA and built a career in healthcare administration. As of 2023, sources describe their relationship as cordial, but not deeply close. Corey has stated she respects her father's legacy without resentment. Bird has been more publicly engaged with his 2 adopted children with Dinah, Connor and Mariah, attending events and sharing family moments, creating a stark contrast that hasn't gone unnoticed. Finally, we end with perhaps the most painful modern story, Dennis Rodman and his relationship with his children, particularly his daughter Trinity Rodman, who has become a professional soccer star despite, or perhaps because of, her father's absence. Rodman has 3 children from 2 marriages: daughter Alexis, born 1988 with Annie Bakes, and son DJ, born 2001, and daughter Trinity, born 2002 with Michelle Moyer. His marriage to Moyer was particularly troubled, with court battles revealing over $50,000 in owed support by 2012, attributed partly to Rodman's financial troubles and alcoholism. Trinity has been most vocal about her father's absence. In November 2021, after Rodman made a surprise visit to one of her games, she posted on Instagram, "My dad doesn't play a big role in my life at all. I go months if not years without his presence or communication. We don't have the best relationship, but at the end of the day, he's human. I'm human. He's my dad, and I'm his little girl." In December 2022, Trinity escalated her criticism in a podcast appearance, calling Rodman not a dad, maybe by blood, but nothing else, and an extremely selfish human being. She detailed post-divorce abandonment, describing how, after the split, the family faced homelessness, living in a Ford Expedition, and motels with barely enough rent, while Rodman was having parties 24/7. After his 2021 game visit, she experienced radio silence for 3 years. Rodman responded on Instagram, "Sorry I wasn't the dad you wanted me to be, but either way I still tried. I love you and hope to see you soon." Trinity replied privately, I'm done, according to reports. What's truly a heartbreaking cycle is that Rodman's own father abandoned him and fathered 47 children, creating a generational pattern of absent fatherhood. In a 2020 ESPN interview, Rodman admitted his major demon is convincing himself he's a good dad, acknowledging it's very hard for me to try to break out of that cycle. So, the next time you watch an NBA game and see a star player celebrating on the court, remember, somewhere out there might be a child waiting for a phone call that will never come, or carrying the heavy weight of a father who chose everything else over simply being there.